You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 108. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
And I'm Jeff Barnhart, the old county in southeastern England.
Okay.
You'll see why.
Yeah.
This is going to come up big time.
Okay. Comic Reflections is brought to you by Rhymes with Geek. You can check out our show, but plus plenty of other cool podcasts like the all-new Anti-Fanboy, Feed It Comics, and Super Podcasto Magnifico at rhymeswithgeek.com. Plus, if you're a gigger of this show, that was awkward. Please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher.
Okay.
So, the first comic we've got to talk about today is Superman number 271. The lead story is called The Man Who Murdered Metropolis. It's written by Elliot S. Magan, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Bob Oxner. Now, I was super jazzed to read this because I did a quick thumb through, and I was like, yes, Brainiac, who is my number one supervillain for Superman. But there's something weird is going on in this story, and it ruins it. It ruins a perfectly good Brainiac story.
I'm not sure it ruins it. It's just befuddling.
Well, let's just get into it. Okay. You'll see.
Okay. What we have here. WGBS employees are on strike, and Clark Kent is on strike.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Morgan Edge decides he's going to be the newscaster, and he's going to have scabs running the cameras and stuff.
It's interesting. Morgan Edge says, "I really don't care. I can afford it," but the other ones can't. Which is
the other ones what?
Other
networks.
Networks.
Okay.
Which is something people want to regulate and get rid of the huge corporations. The huge corporations in general like regulations and stuff like this because they can afford it. It's your mom and pop organization you cannot afford. And Armor, the first food regulations, Armor and those huge animal meat packers, they welcomed it because it's going to drive off the local butcher.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford the regulation.
What is the book? It's by Upton Sinclair.
In the Jungle.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, when the other crying out loud. So he's just waiting for the other networks to cave in. So Morgan Edge there's some hilarity because all the people working the cameras don't know what to do. And he's sideways, and he doesn't have his face right, and the microphone is in the picture. And actually, I'd like to see some of that. Seeing mistakes is fun.
Yeah.
As YouTube networks on that.
Yep.
So something happens while they're outside. Clark and them are trying to get better pay. Here comes another Metropolis falling down on our Metropolis.
It's a vertical or up. It's an aerial mirror image of Metropolis slowly coming down to crush the city, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, it is. I've read this before, and I think it's one of the greatest hits or something like that.
Is it in Best of Superman of the 70s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the only Superman or Brainiac story I think we've read from this period.
Mm-hmm.
So it's notable for that. I don't know why Brainiac is doing this. We're going to find out. I don't even know if we found out why, other than he wants to destroy Superman. Surprise.
Yeah.
But Brainiac shows up, and he's speaking really weirdly. He has all these odd references.
And one of them I gave at the front of the show.
Yeah.
Old cigarette smoke. I kind of like that one. Paleolithic cavern. Old canvas painter. Old writer of science fiction. What in the world?
What's going on? I have no clue what's the deal with this. Magan should be shot in the face for ruining a Brainiac story. But Yeah, every time he refers to Superman, he throws in one of these weird non sequiturs like that on the end.
Old County in Southeast England.
It's old something.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. And I'm like, what is even going on?
Yeah, what does it mean?
And what is Julie Schwartz doing by letting this go? He's the editor. He should not have let this slide at all.
Unless it's his idea.
No, so Julie Schwartz has good ideas. This is crap.
Yeah. Superman rings up this abandoned building and goes up to... He sees that it's an illusion, but even so, he takes up an abandoned building and touches the abandoned building coming down, and it blows up.
Yeah,
so there is a danger here.
Yeah, I love Brainiac's flying saucer. It's so old school and weird looking.
Yeah,
it doesn't even look technologically advanced. It's
it's your grandpa's flying saucer.
It really is. But then in the 80s, he had the skull ship. It changed, I think I like the skull ship, although this is fun too.
Yeah.
I like this ship when you're reading a Silver Age story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think the 70s is a great decade for Brainiac, to be honest.
The 70s was a great decade for anything.
Okay.
Oh.
But yeah, this weird dialogue of Brainiac's is just...
And it's bizarre.
It's inexplicable. It's unexplained as to why he's acting that way, saying that kind of stuff. And it's like, Brainiac doesn't say dumb things. He has a 12th level computer brain, super intelligence.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say dumb stuff.
Actually, I'd like to get the next issue and see what people say about this.
Oh, in the letters column?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have it. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh.
I'll have to look.
I'd still like him, though, even though he's... Oh, man.
Brainiac is still cool no matter what, but yeah.
Old British Duke.
And it's... And these things, they're not like riddles for Superman to solve that'll help him solve the problem or anything. It's just weird.
So Superman sends down a capsule to Morgan Edge, who is filming on top of the WGBS building.
Okay.
And unbeknownst to us, it's a surprise. It has a model of Metropolis, and he destroys it. So Brainiac thinks Metropolis is destroyed, and then Superman pretends he's gone insane.
Right.
And he goes after him, and then Brainiac, this is something new. Superman's insanely angry at me, and it's different. So, and then Superman kind of fools him into making this water turn around, and these ropes come out and zap him up. So, Superman takes him up and flings him off in outer space, which Superman's smart enough, but doesn't he know that never works?
Yeah. I remember we were reading that Silver Age story where Brainiac was so dangerous, Superman built this whole prison for him on a planetoid in deep space. Mm-hmm. And here he just throws him off into space like, he'll never bother me again. We
all know that you can't fling a cat in outer space without hitting a spaceman or something, or an alien race, or another superhero or a supervillain.
Yeah, so ironically, that's very symbolic of this story because it's such a throwaway.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. What a waste of Brainiac.
Yeah, and the thing about being a small little... I don't see how that works. How is Brainiac fooled by this projection of a small metropolis?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah. It doesn't wash. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's embarrassingly bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. What a shame.
And speaking of bad...
okay. Before we do, hey, cool house ad for the Justice League of America. What's going on in this cover? I can't quite read it.
Oh, it's, dang, I can't either. I just heard one of you Justice Leaguers is quitting. Want to know who and why? So we see Hawkman and Batman and
the Black Canary and the Elongated Man and the Flash and the Atom and the Green Arrow. And apparently at this point somebody is going to leave the League or or maybe not. You know how a lot of those stories are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Justice League number 109, who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about our backup story.
The Warriors of Lightning Valley.
Right, it's another one of those The Fabulous World of Krypton backups. And they always stink. However, what is it, The Warriors of Lightning Valley? Yeah. Elliot S. Magan wrote it, so probably garbage. But nice art by Dick Giordano. So,
yeah,
yay for that.
So, Lightning Valley, lightning strikes all the time unless you wear this helmet. So, when you fight, you knock the other guy's helmet off. Why don't you just put the helmet back on? What gives?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Well, Veneria is this warrioress is fighting, and she's really good. And she used to be a slave, and she was good as a gladiator, so she was released. So now she's a mercenary, and they're fighting some goobers, Frillians, who are cavemen, but they wear metal helmets as well. So, all right. So this guy comes up. What's his name? Jackson the Lash, and of course they don't like each other, which means they like each other.
Yeah.
So there's a fight, and they're knocking off caps of people's heads and killing them.
It's Rock'em Sock'em Robots on the planet Krypton. You knocked his block off.
Right. Right, indeed. She's drawn well. And,
yeah, well, Dick Giordano was no slouch. Ooh, here's something cool. This house ad for a couple of 100-page super spectaculars. It's Batman... Hang on. Batman number 254, and we get to see a bunch of cool Batman stories, including him fighting the Man-Bat. And also for the Witching Hour, which is just another one of DC's quote-unquote mystery horror books. But those are fun sometimes. Mm-hmm. Pretty tame, but
yeah.
But if you're craving horror, you know, tame is okay. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're like, it's better than nothing. Is what I'm saying. So.
Maybe. So they're about to fight, and then they duel because both of them are kind of got a big head. And then they start talking, and they fall in love, and then they talk and laugh for a long time, which I guess is a euphemism for having sex.
Maybe.
Yeah. And so she leaves, gives her sword to Jackson the Lash.
Yeah.
And she gives up fighting, and it's kind of sad. So what's the dang deal? Okay.
I don't know. I didn't really get that. I mean, I thought the guy was gay for like not being interested in her from the get-go.
Oh, no.
Because he seemed way more interested in fighting than chicks, which seems pretty swishy.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy. You can get a chick anywhere, but a good fight, that's hard to find.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, the next issue we've got to talk about is Superman number 279, and the lead story is called Menace of the Energy Blackmailers, written by Elliot S. Magan, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Paul Zupa.
You see, greatest hero of them all. Are they talking about Batgirl?
No, Superman. Yeah, Batgirl does guest appear in this issue, although she gets the splash panel ad and the cover blurb of guest appearing, but Batman I think spends more time in this story with Superman.
Yeah.
So, and let's talk about because Batman.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Batman calls Superman to come and help him. Batman wants Superman to dress like Batman and be in some kind of
charity event.
Yeah, it's a folk music concert.
Of course, because Batman does crap like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, but Batman is really looking at these fuel thieves who are stealing fuel oil.
Right.
And they got a little barge full of it, and that is probably about 1/10 of the fuel oil that a major metropolis, which Gotham is, and uses. I mean, that's just ridiculously small.
Well, Yeah, but we're only seeing a little bit of it. There might be more in the lower decks or something.
Maybe so. Okay. So he is
Batman?
Yeah, Batman is chasing these crooks, and then Barbara Gordon is watching Batman in the, and she's a senator now, or
Yeah, she in the Senate in the 70s. She was a senator for a time.
yeah, the best looking senator ever.
Yeah. Oh man, another big house ad for the DC 100-page Super Spectaculars.
Ooh,
They were making a big push for these, and yeah, so we've got them for Shazam and Batman and World's Finest, Justice League, The Unexpected, The Flash, and yeah, Young Romance.
Mm-hmm. I was joking. That doesn't excite me.
Oh, it does to me. You know how much I love romance comics.
Do you?
Yeah,
You really like them?
I really do.
I enjoy them okay, but I'm not. My heart doesn't go pitter pat when I see them.
I don't know if I get like pitter pat like in reading the stories. I just think they're fun. I don't know.
Yeah, they're interesting. It's a different world. It's not for me, and it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so the barge goes to the bigger ship and is going to go down past the 3-mile line. And why does that matter to Batman? Batman is not an officer of the law. You know, the international line is 3 miles. After that,
Yeah.
so
I know Batman has no jurisdiction. He should be able to haul him in. But here's the thing: if he wants to, you know why? Because if he does still work with the law, with Jim Gordon and stuff, if he brought these guys in after they had passed the 3-mile line, Jim Gordon would have to let them go. So that's why.
Yeah.
If he was like, I'm going to go to Japan on a secret mission, cool, that works. But in this case, I understand why.
Yeah.
Okay.
That still wouldn't work. So he starts kicking butt. And
As Batman does.
Right, and then he says, we're 3 miles out. And so you can't really get to us. So Superman picks up the ship and brings it inside, which is technically kidnapping or piracy, because...
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Throw Superman in jail?
I would. He's bad. He keeps throwing Luthor in jail. He's got to be stopped. Okay. Babs Gordon goes to see Batman during the concert, goes into the dressing room and finds clothes that have Clark Kent's name in it.
So she is led to believe that Batman is Clark Kent.
Wow.
Oh, so close and so far away.
Right. So then she goes to talk to Clark Kent, and Clark's, I better think of an idea. So here comes the weird part of it. We have Twin Towers. Man,
Yeah.
I read this on September 11th.
Oh, creepy.
Indeed. Oh, so the Twin Towers are kind of making a vibration, and they're going to bring down the whole city.
Oh, like a tuning fork.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so Superman's helping out, and Barbara Gordon, she gets in her gear. She's retired, but she's not totally retired.
She's a semi-retired as Batgirl. But she had plenty of time. She did a lot of guest appearances, though, in the 70s during the Senator Babs Gordon thing. So,
So Batgirl finds out who's doing it. It's this oil magnate who's stealing the oil and then selling it back at 10 times the cost.
Of course.
Which is kind of I don't know, how many times do oil companies go out of business?
Right.
It's kind of silly.
So here's something. Superman uses his super breath to suck up the oil?
Yeah.
Is it spilled or? Yeah, it is spilling it.
By the, what's his guy's name?
The villain, whatever.
Yeah, Carry Oil guy.
Oh, he started dumping it into the harbor.
Yeah. Like, that's a good plan.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Superman, I know you said you don't like it when he does this. He sucks up a bunch of gas or oil or something. It's a weird thing that he does. My thing is, though, if everything he does is super, right, wouldn't he have, like, a super taste buds? Wouldn't this be, like, super disgusting? Like...
yeah, I don't know. There's worse things that could suck up, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Clark says, "Hey, I dress up like Batman to see it how it feels to be in a bat suit."
Yeah, this is he uses a cover like, oh, it was for a story I was working on, and surprisingly, people buy it.
Right.
Even Babs,
Yeah.
who has worked so closely with the Bat that she should say, yeah, that's not him,
and know what he sounds like and everything.
Well, right, and to see through a flimsy story like that.
Right. And she doesn't believe he's Superman either.
Yeah. So, weird.
Yeah, weird.
So, yeah, again, it's totally advertised as Batgirl being the guest star, but I feel like Batman does more stuff in this issue than her.
I don't know. Maybe Batgirl is more interesting because she's not in as much stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they're trying to impress her. I always like Batgirl.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Actually, I like her when she's kind of like the Oracle. When she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And there's another Batgirl around.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's talk about our backup story in this issue. It's another Fabulous World of Krypton story. Yeah. This one is not as bad, though. This one is called The Magic Master of Krypton. It was written by Cary Bates, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Tex Blaisdell.
Okay, we have a Superman's asking the museum curator about this.
The museum creator from the city of Kandor.
Right. So he tells a story about Tay-Rox, who's a magician, as in he does fake tricks.
Right.
And he has.
But he was super famous back on Krypton.
Right. And he has a Mazma is his apprentice.
Okay.
And the apprentice knows that these tricks are all fake, and that's kind of cool. So Superman's asking about this because he's worried about magic because he has no defense against magic. Right.
Superman's, everybody knows about Krypton, but Superman's other weakness is magic.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So,
and red suns, and,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And lady reporters. So, the apprentice picks the wrong rock to do something with, to trick it out so it blows up or into water. So Tay-Rox is going after the wrong rock and nothing happened. All of a sudden, magic happens. The only person who knows it is
the apprentice.
Mazma.
It's really so it's interesting because the magician who was just doing tricks, he somehow got real magical powers, but then his apprentice made it look like he was just pulling tricks all the time. Still.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which, if you got powers, you would know.
I think so.
So I think that's weird.
That'd be an interesting thing that someone has superpowers and magical powers, didn't know it, and could cause all kinds of trouble. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, usually you see ones where they get powers and they just can't control it.
Right.
That's a fairly common trope, but this, it's weird.
Yeah, because one thing, magic's got to be, practice and all this and blah. It's really hard, fake and real magic.
Yeah, I mean, Doctor Strange had to be trained. He didn't get magic powers. He learned all the spells and stuff. Anybody could learn that stuff, but he had to be trained. So that's a good point.
So catastrophe happens. Tay-Rox saves the day and then gets knocked out. So Maymox had told him how to do it, that he was magical. He saves the day. Then he gets knocked out, forgets what Maymox told him. And then that's the end of the story. And we find out that the curator is Maymox.
The apprentice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Blah.
Yeah. Meh.
So this next issue we've got to talk about, it's a little interesting. It's Superman number 280, and the lead story is Duel of the Diamond Demons. So I like those alliterative titles; those are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Julie Schwartz really liked doing those things; they're really memorable, and so he's doing his job right.
Yeah.
As editor. Let's see. Elliot S. Magan wrote it, and penciled by Kurt Swan, inked by Bob Oxner. So what's going on in this story?
All right.
Steve Lombard's picking up chicks again, or trying.
Yeah. The ratings are down. Now, this kind of confusing. If viewers are living in town with WGBS and they're showing Superman, who would watch anything else?
Well, here's the thing. If you live in Metropolis, you probably see Superman all the time anyway.
Yeah,
not even on the news.
But you don't see him doing all kinds of special things.
Well, right. You would think that WGBS would be, they'd probably have Superman stories almost every night, and the ratings would be high.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, good point.
All right. So this young girl comes up, and I don't know who she.
She's just some chick that works in the office.
Yeah. A long stem chick. She has long legs. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve Lombard. He's a poet with words.
Yeah, that's our Steve Lombard, all right.
Yeah. So Steve says, "Hey, Clarky, why don't you go after her? I got enough chicks." So, so Clark gives her coffee, and Steve pushes him. How can Steve push Superman? Does Superman allow him to spill coffee on her?
Here's the thing. Just because he's super doesn't mean that he's necessarily super heavy, or he can't, like, if he's... Because Steve pushes him from behind.
Yeah.
If you didn't see him, he doesn't have, like, super see behind his back vision.
Yeah, but he's made like of iron. Or he's a man of steel.
Well, look, if Steve punched him, he'd break his hand.
Right.
Okay, but pushing him, I think it's different.
I don't think he...
Or that when he's being, quote-unquote, when he's being Clark, he's maybe almost kind of like walking in such a way that it'd be easy even to push him over because he's supposed to be so bumbling.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. But anyway, Lombard pushes Clark and causes him to spill coffee on the chick. And so then Steve swoops in and like uses that as a pickup line, whatever, because... Then because she got mad at Clark, like you owe for whatever.
She calls Clark a clumsy nerd. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, and then all of a sudden a bridge in Metropolis starts collapsing.
Yeah. So he's got to.
Superman, Clark.
Clark has to raise ratings, so they go out and look for trouble, and they find it, and the bridge is falling down, and Superman fixes it. Well, and they're still filming.
Yeah.
Let's see what else happens, and all kinds of goofy things happen. Quite a few incidents happen. It seems more happens. Oh, Steve tries another thing. He steals the script from this show. Clark is and Clark though has memorized it.
Of course, because Superman has like super memory and everything. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Man, another great big house ad for some more 100-page super spectaculars.
Superman family, I love those.
Oh yeah.
Detective Comics, Batman, the Atom.
Yeah, the Brave and the Bold.
Oh, is that it? Yeah.
The Brave and the Bold, House of Mystery, Wonder Woman, and Young Love.
Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to push those romance comics.
Yeah. Well,
which is cool.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Superman's. I don't know. Let's see. He stops a runaway train. He saves a traffic jam. The Metrodome is about to fall, so he fixes that.
Man, everything in Metropolis is just like falling apart.
Yeah. So Superman goes to this United Charities drive, and he says, "Oh, let me turn this coal into diamond," and he does. But it also turns Steve into diamond. And I read it. I can't understand what's going
Apparently,
on.
previously, Steve had been exposed to some cosmic something or some...
No, just radiation.
Radiation. And before it caused another transformation in him, which I hadn't read that story. I don't know if you had. But anyway, it turns Steve into this diamond thing. And so he fights Superman. And Superman can't do anything because diamond's the hardest substance and stuff.
So he's still Superman.
Well, right.
So they have a decent fight. Let's see.
It goes on for a few pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Then Superman turns into a diamond.
Which I don't know how he became a diamond. Also, I don't get that.
Yeah. Oh, he gets in the line of vision that turns Superman into a diamond creature.
Oh, does Steve have diamond vision? Where he can turn stuff into diamond? Okay.
Yeah.
And then because Superman's also diamond at that point, he punches Steve like really hard.
With the mightiest I've ever struck. The mightiest blow he ever
So he punches Steve way up in the air, and by the time he falls back down, he's normal again. And Superman is too, because apparently the power wears off.
Yeah. Okay. So Steve is up to in front. He's auditioning for this show, and they really like Clark. So when Steve gets up there, Clark switch around his
sheets, his paper,
his script.
Yeah.
And it kind of messes up Steve, and so Clark gets his revenge. That's kind of lame.
And speaking of lame, here's another. Actually, no, this is one of the better Private Life of Clark Kent stories. It's not the greatest, but this one's called The Last Headline. And it's written by Martin Pascoe, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Tex Blaisdell.
Yeah. So, alright. Perry White smokes cigars, fairly thin ones. Morgan Edge smokes cigarettes with a cigarette holder.
Yeah.
And
like a villain.
Yeah, no one does that anymore. They used to do that because cigarettes did not have a filter.
Right.
And you get cigarette, you get tobacco in your mouth.
Right.
But, oh well. So it's anachronistic. I have never seen anybody smoke a cigarette with a
cigarette holder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely anachronistic. You just don't see it anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, what they're doing, they're forcing Perry White to retire because he's 65.
Yeah.
He doesn't look a day over 64.
Yeah. So.
And Perry White's unhappy about it. So, but he's going to get one last headline.
Yeah.
Hence the title of the story.
Right. So he goes after. Okay, there was a guy that he put away through a story he had for robbery or something, but they never found the money.
Yeah,
and this guy,
$5,000. Which is a lot of money back then.
Yeah, so this guy gets out of prison, and so Perry White tails him to find his old hideout where he stuck the money, and Clark follows, obviously, to help Perry.
Yeah, and to put it on film.
Yeah,
and to turn into Superman if need be.
Right. Well, it doesn't really need to, because Perry White uses a garbage can lid to deflect bullets, which wouldn't work, and then socks a guy in the face.
Yep, and trips him up with some kind of wire, and although Clark does get in smack with the TV camera.
Right.
Oh man. So the story was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the fighting makes the building fall down, and Perry White saves the bad guy.
Yeah. Which, hey, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So Perry doesn't want to kill him; he just wants to put him back in jail.
Right.
So Clark on the air says that he shouldn't be retired, and Morgan Edge gets ticked off, talks to Clark about it, and said, well, who wrote this? Everybody did. The whole newsroom wants him to stay.
Yeah, and they petition, and then when they say, Morgan Edge, you wrote the rule, you can change it. So.
Yeah. Jimmy Olsen's there with a horrible necktie. I don't know. It's just.
The bow tie. Yeah.
Yeah. It's way too big and way too colorful, and he's mad. We have another house ad.
Oh, yeah, it's just for the line of DC superstars. Still only 20 cents.
Yeah.
We have Ghosts, Superman, Commandy, Black Magic, Sergeant Rock, The Shadow, Rima, the Jungle Girl, and the Phantom Stranger.
I never heard of Rima.
It didn't last long. I think it was a victim of the DC implosion. Mm-hmm. But those issues are fairly hard to come by, and it's the people who've read it, or people who love that series, really love it, and it's fairly highly sought after.
Black Magic, is that an anthology or what?
It is. Black Magic is an anthology, and it's actually a reprint of 50s horror stuff that Jack Kirby did. Kirby and Simon.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So, anyway, Perry White's job is saved.
Mm-hmm.
And then he cries at the end.
Yeah.
Because he knows everybody loves him and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
It's not too bad.
It's better than the preceding story.
Yes, it was. So, now for something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Ghostly Tales, number 67, from Charlton. This really is an excellent example of Charlton's horror books. And I think just about every story in this is either real good or it's got, at least got a real good artist. Mm-hmm. The splash page of this comic, which is also kind of a table of contents, it's got really nice art by Rock Mastroserio, who, this is 1968. I think he died of a heart attack in 69. Mm-hmm. But he was a mainstay of Charlton throughout the 60s and I think the late 50s, doing a lot of stories. He doesn't do any interior story works in this issue, but Rock Mastroserio is like one of the guys that's synonymous with Charlton.
It's well done.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's interesting, the magazine, this issue has a narrator, and all the stories, save one, have a narrator as well. And what's up with having a narrator for horror?
The horror host thing, I don't know. I think it started with EC Comics, but
is it something like that Cousin Brucey, that's the wrong, that on TV late shows that have somebody talking about the Monster Chiller Horror Theater.
Oh,
SSCTV.
I think those. I think the TV horror hosts came a little after, but the horror host in comics, probably inspired that. But I don't know. It's just it's kind of nice to you think about it. You tell ghost stories around a campfire. Somebody tells it to you, or like this. I'm going to tell you the story of the Black Cat or the Taily-Poo or whatever. Okay, and I think that the tradition just kind of started from how we share horror stories or ghost stories, and it just kind of became a thing. It's almost de rigueur in any anthology horror book to have a horror host. EC Comics famously had the Crypt Keeper, the Vault Keeper, and the Old Witch. Warren magazines in the 60s and 70s, they had Uncle Creepy and Cousin Eerie, and Charlton had Mr. Dead and Mr. Bones and characters like that. So,
yeah, and this one has too. There's one above them. It's an old Indian chief.
Well, no, that's Mr. Dead. He's just wearing a headdress in the splash panel.
Okay.
But anyway, let's talk about the lead story here. It's called The Man in the Trunk. No credits, but chances are Joe Gill wrote it. And terrific art by Pat Boyette.
Man, the narrator here is this evil old clown, and it looks creepy.
Again, I think that's Mr. Dead, but wearing clown makeup.
Okay, all right. So, he does have a vampire hair with the
widow's peak. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. He's saying the old days. There's no good movies, nothing to do. What? There was good movies back then.
Well, here's the thing. This story probably takes place in the days of Houdini, so we're talking about the silent film era.
There are some good movies in the silent film era.
Okay.
I don't know. Watch a Buster Keaton. Better than anything they're done today. At least funnier, anyway. Okay, so we have a Houdini ripoff guy named what's his name? Gitano.
Okay.
Oh no, Turpo. And Gitano is his assistant, and he wants Turpo's wife.
Mm-hmm. I swear this has been done in Tales from the Crypt, but go ahead.
Yeah. It is a creepy thing to think that you go in the water and wouldn't be able to get out.
Oh yeah, no. But yeah, anyway, the guy is an escape artist, and he makes his living by defying death.
Yeah, and he doesn't practice these things. Houdini did this. He practiced all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't mess around. This is death. This is death-defying stuff, and something can go wrong.
Right.
If you don't practice, something will go wrong. Well, something goes wrong here. His apprentice messes with the lock, and so it won't unlock.
So that the guy will drown.
Yeah, he's lowered into water, wrapped up in a sheet with about 4 chains around, and he dies. So,
yeah. The wife is grieving, but then guy thinks he's going to make the moves on the wife, but people suspect him. And so he's like, I got to skip town.
So he hides into one of the boxes where the guy... And she's just going to get rid of his stuff. No, I don't know. That's kind of quick to get rid of your late husband's stuff.
Well, but people make irrational decisions when they're grieving, like, I don't want to be reminded or whatever. So anyway, the stuff just gets dumped in the river or the ocean off the pier, and the guy is locked in it, so he drowns and dies
Locked
too.
in it by the ghost of Turpo.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Why didn't she sell it? Take it to a yard sale or something.
I don't know.
All right.
So, the next story is called A House with a Different View. It's written by Joe Gill, with terrific art by Jim Aparo, who is my favorite artist on Batman, and he's done terrific art on and defining work on The Phantom Stranger, Aquaman, and The Spectre, and did a great deal of the issues of The Brave and the Bold with all those Batman team-ups. So
okay.
But he got his start at Charlton.
Yeah. All these are pretty well done.
Yeah.
The last one's sort of golden agey, but this one looks nice and nice perspectives and framing. All right, so this couple buys a house, and it's 200 years old, and they're enjoying it. And oh look, here comes this guy who's dressed like a settler, and he gets shot with an arrow. Indians come up and attack, and these look like Iroquois. Iroquois?
Yeah, sure.
I can't say that word.
Iroquois?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So they're chasing in there, and they run back to try to call the police, but their house has been turned into 18th century stuff. There's no telephones and all that.
Right. So they're basically hiding from these Indians attacking.
They go down, they get chased again by an Indian, and then they go into they find another place to hide, and they go into that, and they find these dead bodies with an American Indian
chained to the wall.
Chained to the
corpse. Wall. It's a skeleton.
And another corpse too. I'm not sure what's going on with him. And this Indian walks down, and then he walks up. So, he comes from the skeleton.
Yeah.
And he walks up, and he's free. So everything's happy now.
So I guess the Indians were haunting the house until someone discovered the bodies, which had been remained there for like a century. But didn't the realtor who sold the house maybe see this?
Or something, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So the next story. Oh, this is great because, let me just go with this. It's the story is called "A Voice from Out There," written by Joe Gill, art by Steve Ditko.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I should have known because the way he has his hands looks like Spidey Man.
Hand gestures, yeah.
Yeah.
Ditko has a great facial expressions and great hand gestures. Those are two of his major strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a cool story. I think it's genuinely, a solid plot you might see on a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, we got this guy Sam who was born without a throat box or larynx.
Yeah.
And Titus Friendly gives him one because Titus Friendly just died.
Yeah.
And then they work on it, and then Sam wakes up and he's talking like Titus Friendly, and he says, there's a disaster, there's going to be a fire in the hospital. And it's, you're full of it. And then there's a fire.
Yeah.
So then there's a problem with the liner, and he tells about that. And so they save the liner from sinking.
Oh, an ocean liner, yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Ditko's doing some great work here. Lots of distressed facial expressions, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Cool. I don't know. There's some neat stuff. Just two people in a car, and he turns over a little bit on an angle and makes it look really dramatic. Really well done.
Well, I mean, Ditko is one of the masters of the comic book form, really. I mean, and as often as low rent as Charlton was, boy, they were, they had a great thing in that they had Ditko doing all this work for them. Because, when he left Marvel in '66, primarily for the next 8 or 10 years, he was doing almost the only time you'd see Ditko was at Charlton.
That is interesting.
Yeah, probably the next 10 years. So, he did some work at DC, some fine stuff, but as far as volume of work, most of his stuff in that decade was at Charlton.
So Sam disappears, and the Doctor runs after him and tries to find him. He finally finds him, and Sam runs off and is killed.
Yeah.
And the Doctor reads later, "I'm supposed to die at this certain time." So
the guy predicted his own death, so it was inescapable.
Yeah, this was done in a Heinlein story. I think it was Heinlein's first story. This guy could predict the future and predicts his own death.
Interesting.
Yeah,
this reminds me of a plot from. Do you ever see the show One Step Beyond?
No.
It's another black and white anthology show from I think the '60s or '50s. It's cool.
Interesting.
I have a few episodes on DVD. So.
All right. So we have
just a 3 or 4 pager.
Yeah.
Starring Dr. M.T. Graves.
Yeah.
A supernaturalist in The Scent of Lavender.
No, there is no narrator. This is the only time.
Right. But what it does have is a recurring character in Dr. M.T. Graves.
Oh.
Because this guy...
So when you have a recurring character, you have no need for a narrator.
Yeah, and he had his own book later, I think, called The Ghostly Haunts of Dr. Graves or something like that. But anyway, Dave Kaler wrote it, and Ernie Bach on art. So.
Yeah.
Some guy comes to see Dr. M.T. Graves.
Yeah, I think he's a detective, and he's kind of a jerkwad. And
okay.
That word again. Let's see. So Dr. Graves says, okay, there's been some kind of murder or a suicide, and this guy thinks it's a suicide, but Dr. Graves says it's not. And then here comes the main suspect, and it doesn't explain. It's kind of confusingly written.
Yeah.
And maybe it's too quick.
Yeah.
And she wore lavender, so it's a scent of lavender is her expensive perfume. My wife loves lavender, by the way.
Yeah.
I like it too.
Oh, the book was The Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves. That's what it was. Anyway, go ahead.
So the woman's ghost, who was murdered, comes back and scares him, and he blabs and says he did it. And the end.
Okay. Yeah, I think for a couple more pages you could have had a better story.
Right. Yeah, it just went too quickly.
Yeah. So, that's all our comics for this episode. I want to remind listeners to please join our Facebook group. It's the Comic Reflections Podcast Discussion Group. That's the name. Join it. Talk about our episodes. Jeff, do you have a thing?
I'll get you for this, Superman. You and your entire cursed adopted planet.
Oh, and special thing. Next week, excitement. We're going to be talking about the Thunder Agents.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, some Wally Wood and Ditko and all kinds of grooviness there.